Welcome everybody, this is English Composition 3 and I'm Mr. Lee. What I'm going to do is give you guys a series of videos to kind of help you out, making myself a little bit more present in the classroom. Since it is an online class, sometimes it gets a little difficult to feel like you actually have an instructor. So to make that a little bit more apparent, I'm making these videos, the first of which will introduce myself and go over the class structure here on Blackboard. And then I'll go over the syllabus, and I'll go over the writing project guidelines, and each week I'll present a video, and I'll go over the lessons with you guys via video. Also, I'm available via email. My staff email is michael.lee5@centralaz.edu, of course, but if you want a little bit more hands-on, I can actually do video chat with everyone via the instant messaging program, which you'll need to check out to make sure it kind of works with your computer, because we'll be using it in the later weeks. And then also I'm available via Skype, so if you're interested in kind of getting in touch via those things, it might make things a little bit easier for you. So anyways, let's go ahead and get started. You can call me, Mike Lee, Mr. Lee, Michael Lee, whatever you want to call me. It really makes no difference to me. But nonetheless, a little bit about myself. I have been teaching at CAC for just a little while, a little over a year. I pretty well stick with the Composition 3, Composition 4 courses, and technical writing in some of the semesters. My education, I have a bachelor's in education, I have a master's in education, I'm working on a PhD in psychology. I actually don't have a degree in English, oddly enough, so you're learning writing from an educator and a psychologist. So let's see, what else? One of the things that's kind of unique about me is that I do consider myself an educator rather than a professor. You'll notice that throughout your time in college you're going to have two types of teachers. You'll have the one that says, you have to prove your worth, kind of acting as a floodgate, saying you don't graduate unless you show that you're an academic and a scholar. Well, that's not me. I'm more of a bridge type. I like to push everyone along, and if you don't get something, I'll take time to teach it to you and things like that. So one thing I always tell my students is that as long as you turn in all of your assignments, you're going to pass the class, because I'm not going to let you turn in an assignment and then say, yeah, that's fine, you'll do fine later. I want to make sure that whenever you turn in that paper, I'll ding you for a few things, but I'm going to teach you how to correct those things. That way, the next time you won't make the same mistakes, and if you do, we'll keep going over them. But it's not going to cause you to fail the class. What will cause you to fail the class, and probably the only thing that will make you fail the class, is not turning in your work. So just make sure you turn in everything, and you should be fine. Let's see, one thing that I really want, one of the activities that I do in the classroom, might get a little awkward here, as if I'm not awkward enough. One of the things that I like to do is I like to create kind of a cohesive atmosphere. So one of the things I want to do, and you'll see this in the introductory activity that I'll show you in just a second, is I want you to make up one thing that's true about you and one thing that's actually false. So for me, I'm going to tell you one truth and one false, but I'm not going to tell you which is which. So I'm going to say I listen to Taylor Swift and I listen to Kesha. Now one of those two things is not true, but it's your job to guess which one. And of course at the end of the week I will send out an email and tell you which one, and those people that guess right, they'll get 5 extra points. Now let me go ahead and show you where you can kind of do this stuff. If you're in Blackboard, this is what you should see whenever you log in. There will be announcements. Right now there are no announcements. By the time I post this video, there should be some announcements. But you'll want to click over here where it says Start Here. So click the Start Here button, and it's going to bring you to the Start Here folder. First things first, English Composition 3, Fall 2015, that's the syllabus, and I'll go over that in just a second. But the second part here, where it says Introductions are in order, well, they are in order. So one of the things I want you to do is, in this discussion board, I want you to introduce yourself, and if you post a video like I'm doing now, you can get 5 extra points that I'll kind of distribute throughout your grade, and wherever you need it, I'll put it there. And I want you to tell me 6 things. And of course, you don't have to do a video. If you want to do typing and just post it on here like a normal discussion board, that's fine. But video gets you extra points. Nonetheless, if you do video or if you type it, tell me 1, tell me about yourself. 2, tell me how long you've been at CAC. 3, tell me what your major is, if you have one. If you don't have one, tell me what are you interested in. What do you think you're going to do? What do you hope to get from this class? And then of course the activity. Tell me one lie and one truth about yourself, and this will be to the whole class. But don't tell us which is which. Just tell us one lie, one truth. For me it was, I listen to Taylor Swift, I listen to Kesha. One's not true, but I'm not going to tell you which one. And then last but not least, which one do you think is the truth? Do you think I listen to Taylor Swift, or do you think I listen to Kesha? Now, most of the stuff right here I kind of explained. Most of it sounds pretty straightforward, so just kind of read this explanation if you get stuck. And here's an example. Every time I ask you to do any type of writing, I'm going to give you an example. And here's that example. So use this guideline here, post your introductions, and I want you to reply to someone else and try and guess which one of their truths is a truth or which one's a lie, and things like that. So if someone else posts on here and says they listen to Taylor Swift or Kesha, or maybe they say they like Kanye West or they don't like Kanye West. Well, nobody likes Kanye West, so you can probably guess that one's the truth. Okay, and then if you guess someone else correctly, then I'll give you 5 points as well. So make sure after you post your introductions, you kind of check back a little bit to see what people are guessing about you, so that you can tell them which one's true. That way I can obviously give everybody the 5 points. So let's see, last but not least, there's a total of 15 points that you can earn for bonus points this week. 5 for guessing my truth or my lie, 5 points for guessing another person's truth or lie, and then 5 points for posting a video introduction as opposed to a typing introduction. So that is the introduction. That's the start here. Those are the only things that are really kind of due. Well, there really is no due date on those things, but you know, you gotta get them done sometime. That way you can get the extra points, and that way we can kind of figure out a little bit about you. It is worth 100 points. If you don't do it, I won't count it against you. But if you do, then it's basically a free 100 points. Now, what does matter and what does have due dates is the course content. So if you click over here on the course content, that will have every week, and each week there will be a new folder that pops up, and this week is the first week, so we only have one. So you click on that first week, week 1, August 17th through August 23rd. It's going to have everything you need. So if you're going through here, as long as you stay in the course content, you're not going to get lost, because everything you need to do for that week, I'm going to post in that week. So you find the proper week. In this case, it's August 17th through August 23rd. You click on it, and it'll have all the assignments that are due. Now I'm also going to post a couple videos in here explaining the Writing Project 1 guidelines. So I'm just going to click that and show you how you can kind of get it available. So you open it, and these are the guidelines for Writing Project 1. Now I'm not going to go over those because I'm going to post a second video that goes over that. But nonetheless, it will be there. So we go back to that start here, or excuse me, the course content. Go back to week 1. Now your assignment for this week is to start off by doing a discussion board. Discussion board 1, in first person, I want you to write a response in which you appeal to a police officer who's pulled you over for going 85 miles an hour in a 50 mile an hour zone. Technically, they could take you to jail, but what I want you to do is try to get them to let you off with only a warning, and basically tell me in the first person how would you do that. For those people that are maybe a little rusty, first person is, here's an example. I'm sorry, officer, I was speeding because my friend was recently in a car accident and I need to get to the hospital as soon as possible. So you're writing it from your own perspective as if you're talking directly to the police officer. And that's the first assignment. It needs to be between 50 and 100 words. Now in that one, you don't really have to reply to anyone else. You can look at other people's postings so you can kind of get a good idea and maybe give them suggestions or whatever you want to do. But no replies are required. The only thing you have to do is give me your first person response to the police officer, just like this example. After you've completed that, pretty easy, come down and watch these videos. These videos are the things that we're talking about this week, and ethos, pathos, and logos. I call those rhetorical strategies. And I'll also post a video that's more or less a closure to these videos. I'll kind of wrap it all up and try and touch on a few points that maybe people get confused on. Now, purpose, audience, and genre, that's going to be your second video, so watch that as well. It has 2 parts, first part, second part. Now these, for me, the plugin's not supported, but you can just click on this and it'll download the video, and you can watch it that way. It is an MP4, and if you have any issues, email me, Skype me, call me, whatever you need to do, and I'll make sure you can get that video. Now next, after you've watched these videos, I want you to come back to, go down to this discussion question 2. And basically what it's saying is, now that you've watched these videos, I want you to apply these concepts to your original answer to the police officer. So up here, My example says, I'm sorry officer, I was speeding because my friend was in a car accident. I need to get to the hospital as soon as possible. Oops, I hit my mic. So I need to get to the hospital as soon as possible. Now in this discussion question 2, what I want you to go back is reread your response and try and classify it as either ethos, pathos, or logos. So here's an example of what I'm talking about. In my discussion 1 question, response to the officer, I focused mainly on emotional appeal through the use of my friend in the hospital. I wanted the officer to feel sorry for my friend, just as I did, and I was trying to get the officer to feel like me and understand my desperation to reach my friend. By doing this, I was appealing to the emotions of the officer in hopes that he would share my feelings and let me go without a warning, since this is a unique situation. So that is my explanation. Basically, I'm telling you I used emotional appeal in my first discussion question answer, and this is how I used it. So basically, in the second discussion question, I just want you to explain what you were thinking or how you would classify your first discussion question in regards to ethos, pathos, or logos. Once you've answered the discussion question 2, I want you to go back and look at other people, see what they used. If you used emotional appeal, look at the people that maybe used logical appeal, or maybe look at the people that used ethical appeal. And I want you to respond to them. But I don't want to do, good job. It has to be a little bit more substantial than that. Instead, I want you to do something like, I agree with, like right here, here's my example. I agree with your choice of emotional appeal, and this is me replying to someone else, because of the way you say, I understand that I should have been going slower. Not only does this help persuade the officer to feel like you deserve to be given a free pass, but it also shows the cop that you are acknowledging the argument against you. So basically what you're doing here is you're replying to someone else and you're saying, I think you did a good job and here's why. Or you're saying, I disagree with what you're saying and here's why. Now both of which are fine. You can definitely disagree with anyone on anything, but you need to be able to back up that claim. So once you've done that, kind of to recap, what you're going to do is, well, first of all, you're going to watch this video. And then you're going to go in, read the Project 1 guidelines. I'll post a video that discusses that. Then I want you to go through and do the discussion question 1, where you talk to the cop. Make him want to give you a warning rather than take you to jail. Watch these 4 videos on, let's see, ethos, pathos, logos, audience, purpose, and genre, the 2-part video on audience, purpose, genre, and then how to write a reflective narrative. The reflective narrative is actually your writing project 1. Once you've done that, I want you to go back and do discussion question 2, but what that is you look at discussion question 1 and categorize it as ethos, pathos, logos, and explain why. Once you're done with that, respond to someone else's post, agreeing or disagreeing, and tell them why. Last but not least, your actual homework for this week, because these are rather easy assignments, is I want you to just explain to me, in your own words, all the concepts that I just explained to you. And of course you watch the videos first, and you watch the upcoming videos I'm about to post. Basically, in your own words, what is a reflective narrative? Number 2, in your own words, what are ethos, pathos, and logos, and how do they affect writing? Number 3, what are purpose, audience, and genre, and why are they important to writing? 4 and 5 are actually specific to writing project 1, and I'll explain that in the next video. But nonetheless, number 4 is what social issue will be the subject of my reflective narrative. Now, it doesn't really make sense yet, but watch my video on the writing project 1 guidelines, and it'll make a little more sense. Last but not least, what personal life experience that deals with the above mentioned issue, that social issue I just talked about, will you use in the topic for your narrative? Again, 4 and 5 aren't going to make sense right now, but they will once you get to the homework block, which should come last. As always, if you have any issues, give me a call. My number is area code 210-818-6160. Again, that's 210-818-6160. My email, michael.lee5@centralaz.edu, and my Skype address is Mike, M-I-K-E, _Lee, L-E-E, _03. If you download Skype and you put that into Skype, you can actually use that and we can video conference and talk about things. Of course, there's also the Blackboard instant messaging program, so that's usable as well. Now, last but not least, I want to go over the syllabus with you guys. I'm just going to do it really quick because, well, you can just read it and everything's pretty well self-explanatory. So, here's the here's the book we're going to be using, Allen and Bacon Guide to Writing. Let's see. These are basically the goals. You can read over those. The prerequisites, this is what you need in order to be in this class. Let's see. Here are the course objectives. You can read through those. Now the attendance is not really too pertinent to an online class, but basically you need to be doing the discussion questions. That's how I maintain attendance. As long as you log in and do these discussion questions each week, I'll count as your attendance. Now right here you can see 3 equals a net. Only 3 absences, and then you resort to course failure. Now, in order to get 3 absences, that would mean that you have to not do 3 discussion questions. If you don't do 3 discussion questions, your grades are going to be floundering anyways. So make sure you do the discussion questions. And even if you get, a 30%, at least you've done them and you showed up to class, so to speak, since it's an online class. But if you don't do them at all, you receive a 0 and you get an absence counted against you. So make sure that you're doing the discussion question. Kind of a breakdown in this pie chart. This is how, excuse me, how the class breaks down. Writing project 1 is worth 10%, project 2 15, project 3 20, and then project 4 25. Project 4 is a presentation, which we'll do via the Blackboard IM, or via Skype, or via Google Hangouts if you would prefer. But we'll determine that later. Project 4 doesn't come until like November, December. Discussion board questions, that's 10%. And then peer reviews we'll do online as well, and those are worth 10%. Let's see, just make sure you turn in everything on their due dates. Here's the grading scale. Late work, I can give you extensions, but I don't really accept late work. So if you just don't tell me anything and then it gets turned in late, I'm not going to accept it. However, if you come to me beforehand and say, I'm having trouble doing this, can I have a few extra days, or I'm in the hospital, I'm sick, whatever, I need a few extra days, that's fine, I can do that. But if I don't know anything, then I'm just going to assume that you aren't doing it, and I'm going to give you a 0. Once I put the 0 in, that's kind of the end of the line. So make sure you communicate with me, and make sure you just let me know if you need some extra days. Worst case scenario, if you need to withdraw from the class, you need to do so by October 22nd. And I don't really have anything to do with the withdrawal process, so if you want to do that, you just have to talk to the registrar's office. Plagiarism, no plagiarism. Everything you turn in here goes to SafeAssign, and so even your homework this week goes to SafeAssign, so if you try and use someone else's work, it's going to show me, so let's just not do that. That would be fantastic. Let's see, the assignments, this little bubble here just kind of shows how they work off of each other. You're going to do a reflective narrative on a social issue that you've experienced throughout your life. So if you've experienced a good social issue, police brutality right now, it's kind of huge in the media. If you've experienced that in the past, you could write a reflective narrative that kind of reflects on your experience with police brutality and show me how that's changed your life and how it should change everyone's life. Then whenever you get to project 2, you don't have to do police brutality, don't get me wrong. You can do anything you want. You can do another one that's big is racism. If you've experienced racism in your life, tell me how that. Any kind of social issue. Once you've completed project 1, project 2 kind of stems from that and the fact that we're now analyzing these social issues. Whatever social issue you chose for writing project 1, you'll have the option of either continuing on with it or changing, but the idea is that you keep it. And you begin by writing a narrative about your social issue in project 1, and then in project 2 you kind of analyze that. Project 3 you write a synthesis paper, which is basically a research paper, and then you give me a multimodal proposal on the social issue. That way you kind of become an expert in this field, so to speak. But again, I'll explain those projects as they come about. Here's assignment details for each assignment. You can kind of read those. They're pretty well self-explanatory. If I'm noticing here that the discussion board forum will be created for each. Not all of these are going to be 400 to 500 words. If the discussion board is 400 to 500 words, that means it's probably your homework for that week. But whenever it says that 400 to 500, that's only some discussion boards, not all of them. I'll put in the directions how many words you need for each discussion board. It's 400 to 500. You probably won't have anything else to do that week. Let's see. Here's how I grade your essays. 30% content, 30% organization, 20% expression, and 20% mechanics. And if you have any other questions, you can contact Karen Hidhedi. She's the acting department chair right now. And here's her number, 494-5074, and of course there's her email. And all this stuff can be found on the syllabus that you can download from the Start Here place. And again, that can be found under Start Here. And it's going to load up here in just a minute. Maybe not. Alright, there we go. English Composition 3, Fall 2015. That's where you can find the syllabus. So again, that's myself. That's kind of an introduction to the class, kind of a long video, but nonetheless, that's everything I got for you right now. So I'm going to do a second video here in just a few seconds on the Writing Project 1, and I'll explain kind of what I want you to do from that. And later on in the week, I'll post a video that kind of reviews all of the content that we've covered this week to kind of run it home, so to speak. So again, welcome to English Composition 3. I'm Michael Lee, and I will see you guys later. Have a good class.